Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide Jason. I know I have said it before, but one of the most common methods for creating a mythical creature is to just take two other animals and smash them together. This has led to the chimera, griffins, centaurs, and many more. But what about the Ushi-Oni? Tell me, what is a common fear? Things like heights in the dark are common, but probably one of the most important is spiders. So how to make it scarier? Well, make it bigger. And this is the foundation of the Ushi-Oni, for the most part. This is a creature which lurks in Japanese mythology. This monster has the body of a spider, but with only 6 legs, and each leg ends in a single sharp claw. But instead of multiple eyes and giant fangs, we get a bull's head, with large curved horns. It has a long and slender tongue. Now, this thing just loves to kill and devour humans. It prefers a few different locations, such as beaches, swamps, lakes, rivers, forests, and mountains. Yeah, that's actually a pretty wide number of areas. Now, it isn't mentioned making webs, which for a spider monster is surprising. But it does have a venom which it spits. So overall, a pretty nasty piece of work. But there's a fun issue that comes up. As is common in Japanese mythology, the different prefectures have different takes on this monster. In some, it doesn't have the spider body, but that of an Oni, a kind of demon or ogre, but still the bullhead. So we got ourselves a Japanese minotaur in some takes. And others have a bull's body and an Oni's head. Some say that it can fly with insect-like wings. Frequently, they have been said to show up outside of temples wearing human clothes. And yet another gives it a cat's body with a long tail. So a few different versions. So we'll just focus on the more common spider version. And those different regions each give rise to their own tales. In one prefecture, it has a curse. The lord shot one with an arrow and his wife became incredibly ill. And the lord ended up distancing himself from his wife as he fell for a dancer. Needless to say, this led to some political turmoil. But another region might have had a cure. There, they say, it lives at the bottom of a pool which connects to the ocean from an underground river. When the water got dirty, they said that it was near, and even coming close could get you sick. But they say to speak in opposites, like flowing rocks, quiet storms, still lightning, and so on. Another tale speaks of the Ushi-Oni licking people's shadows. If that happens, they'll develop a high fever, and then pass away within a couple of days. Except that if you give it some of its favorite things, such as alcohol, and each year at the new year. Now, if you meet its gaze, it is said that you can't look away, as it slowly drains away your life force. Now, it does have an origin story. The Empress, Jingyu, invaded the 3 Korean kingdoms, and was faced by an 8-headed ox-shaped monster called Jinriki. Of course, her forces were able to defeat this monster, and its body was split apart and became a set of islands. Yet when the Empress returned, the monster spirit could not rest and became the Ushi-Oni. But she was saved by the kami, who threw it into the distance, which turned it into several more islands. Okay, so how can we make this animal work? Well, we need to start with the base, and that is a spider body, and that right there is an issue. Spiders have a passive form of respiration using their book lungs. They don't rely on contraction and expansion. This works for a few reasons. First off, they are pretty small and have an open circulatory system. This means that they don't actually have veins, but simple cavities which their blood called hemolymph can circulate through. Now this system is incredibly ineffective at larger sizes, which is what has limited the size of most invertebrates. In fact, invertebrates such as squids have even adapted into a closed circulatory system, like what mammals have. So it would seem that we should also make this change for the Ushi-Oni. But there is a second secret to spiders, and that is they can sit still for hours, and thus not having to breathe like we do. And it is unlikely that we can get away with that here. Which means we will need to move from the book lungs to something more akin to what bulls and humans have. This will mean reworking the internal organs to fit them. Most likely, it will be in the abdomen. Part of this is there are spiders with trachea, and it is located in their abdomen, which is also where their heart is located. Yet, that might be an issue here. This thing is said to have a bull's head, and that would have a trachea of its own. So if we want to use that trachea, we need to move the lungs and heart into the cephalothorax. Now there is one trait which might be interesting. There are many tales about it being harmed and slain by arrows. Now spiders have a tough exoskeleton, which would offer protection and would limit the effect of arrows. And this could mean it has an endoskeleton, similar to bulls and humans. This would help in several ways. Remember, I said spiders had hemolymph, not hemoglobin. The difference is the use of iron-rich blood. This has a higher oxygen uptake rate, and that will be important to support a larger animal. In addition, it would not need to molt with an endoskeleton. Lastly, we have its powers to address. Most are mentioned being a disease, a curse, or poison. That last one is very likely. A dosing through the water can create something similar to a disease. Now, many of the stories speak of it living near pools, rivers, and waterfalls, and this would be the perfect method for it to spread its venom. Since it is said to spit it, the simplest solution would be to copy the venom spitting method used by vipers and other serpents. The last issue is its mouth. Bulls have flat teeth for grinding, not sharp teeth for rending flesh. So either it will struggle to eat, or it would be best to replace them with sharp fangs, which does match the historical paintings and the description of being part ogre. So how do we squash this bull spider demon? Well, the first issue is its venom. We need to avoid that. It seems to be a long-acting and slow one rather than a quick death, most likely one to incapacitate its prey. It is said to spit it, and that means I would want a shield. This will keep the venom from splashing across you, and the more distance you can get from it, the better. For armor, I would choose plate. If you use gambeson, it would soak into it, and the venom would just go through chainmail links. The Ushi-Oni is also said to have sharp claws, which plate will help against. In theory, these will work like spears. We also have the horns on its head when it charges. We should stop that. Due to it having 6 legs, you would likely need to remove at least 2 legs on one side before it would fall. Your best option is to flank it. Most likely, this will make it hard for it to spit its venom at you. Yet, it is said to be able to drain your life force if you make eye contact. So you need to be sure that you don't look it in the eye. Keep your gaze on its feet, that will be your best chance. If not, blind it with your attacks and spells. Ideally, you would be fighting in a group, and that is standard operating procedure for any decent venture. It only has 2 eyes, which means even if one of you gets caught in its gaze, it won't be able to turn about and snag 2 of you in its gaze. Since it doesn't have a carapace, any weapon should work. A sword or axe can remove the legs, but your main target will be the body. We know bows can bring it down, but that will often result in curses. Magic is going to be a big option, and since it likes poison and curses, you will need spells to break curses and cure the venom. You will need to bring a healer with you to be sure. When it comes to offensive magic, you can run the gambit. Ice magic will be great for incapacitating it. Both fire and lightning will inflict plenty of damage, but a great spell would be a blindness one. That means you can't get caught in its gaze. Perfect! Now, its main method seems to be ambush, charging and snagging its prey with power and venom before you can react. You'll need to be on your guard and pay attention. It will likely attempt to lick your shadow, and if that happens, it can slip away and let the fever and disease take you down. But there is a solution to this. If it wants to lick your shadow, then don't have a shadow. Use light spell to remove your shadow. But if you leave your shadow as bait, you could help predict which way it will come from. The Ushi-Oni is actually going to be pretty tough. It's naturally aggressive, and anyone who has harmed it has usually fallen to its curse. So even after victory, you aren't safe. You need to enter this battle with a plan and a party. This is why I'm going to give the Ushi-Oni a 5 out of 10 for difficulty. This won't be an easy battle to be sure. Be ready for its strength and its venom. If you beat the Ushi-Oni, things aren't going to be that great. In just about every story, when it is defeated, someone falls under its curse. So you'll need to handle that right away. Afterwards, we have the rest of its remains. Yes, we know that some were used to make islands, but that is isolated and involved gods. So honestly, it would be best to destroy the remains to be sure that nothing else happens. Most likely, your best loot will be a reward for defeating it from the locals. If you are a gambler, you could use its venom on your weapons, but that is a high risk option, and probably not worth it. Yeah, slay it and destroy the remains. The Ushi-Oni is a difficult foe to be sure. Just because you win a battle with it doesn't mean you are safe yet. You'll need to plan and prepare for this foe to be sure, but it is manageable. Just don't try to use its remains. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.